Welcome back to Basic. We are doing Imitation, following the way of Jesus, learning from him how the Christian ought to live in the world. So we talked about the basics of Christianity 101. Really, this is where the rubber meets the road. Like, how do we actually live our lives? And so we've talked about a number of how we can imitate, ways we can imitate Jesus, but today we're talking about self-sacrifice. That the imitating Jesus involves saying no to self and saying yes to Jesus. I mean, that verse comes to mind right away is take up your cross and follow me. Deny yourself. Take up your cross and follow me. And that denying yourself is not what the culture tells us. Culture tells me that you deserve this.
Yeah.
You know, like treat yourself. That's what I hear from culture. Treat yourself.
Treat yourself. Oh, so good.
Right? And not sacrifice yourself.
Right. Don't give away money. Use that money.
Right. That's for you. I mean, we live in a consumer culture where all of the advertising tells us that we are worth it, important. We should spend money on ourselves.
Oh, yeah.
Or maybe our kids, but that's about it, right?
Right.
But I don't know. What does self-sacrifice mean to you? What does that look like?
Well, right. I mean, because I'm a mom with 3 kids, like I immediately think about being a mom, and like you sacrifice your time, you sacrifice your health, right? They bring back so many things from daycare. You sacrifice your sleep, and then there's like things that you genuinely like. These are things that I could have done with my life if I had chosen not to have children. And I think that's a big question in society today is like, do I even have children? Because that's a self-sacrifice sometimes to just like give of your money and your time to another person because they live with you, because they're you. And so like, it feels like an easy example, but it's also like a pretty profound example that as we continue in society and we continue making new generations, we have to sacrifice so that the next generation succeeds. And so it means that I have to kind of believe this climate change thing, and I have to recycle, and I have to be, inconvenienced with a lot of things. I have to drink from the straws that fall apart, right? And so it's little things like that versus yes, there's big sacrifices too. Like we've been talking about showing mercy and like other ways that we like intentionally go outside of ourselves, but like it does feel like you have to do little sacrifices to make for the good of all. Mm-hmm. And you do it more often than you think.
Oh, what is Romans, consider others better than yourself. You know, that like you make sacrifices for others because you're putting that ahead of yourself. Like their needs ahead of your own, your kids' needs ahead of your own, but then your neighbor's needs ahead of your own, the world's needs ahead of your own. I don't think Jesus wants us to be a doormat, but I think we are called to look for, to commit ourselves to something bigger than ourselves. Like I think that's the way of imitating Jesus is just having a bigger worldview. And so often in our world, people's worlds become just themselves. Mm-hmm. And so they'll make sacrifices to earn more money for themselves.
Right.
Right. But
I don't need to sleep right now. I'm gonna work more hours, and I'm gonna drive that Uber car, and I'm gonna make my little petty cash. Yeah.
But that's like, what is the point of it? Well, why does Jesus call us to sacrifice ourselves? It's so that we can benefit others. It's to lift others up. And Jesus gave us that example, right? But he goes to the cross himself, takes up his cross, even though he didn't need to be saved. Yeah. He does it to save others. He didn't need his sins forgiven. He did it to forgive other people's sins. So he put all of the world above his own needs, and it took, had a painful experience himself, sacrifice on the cross so that we could live. And now we're called to do that for others.
Right.
I think for me, some of it comes down to vocation, like choosing a vocation that you give yourself over to. Like for me, I'm a pastor, and so like there's choices you have to make along the way that maybe I didn't even realize when I was starting.
Right.
I think I knew I'd have to give up Sundays, right? Like I'm sacrificing Sundays for the majority of my life.
Right.
Because of this vocation, this commitment to bring the gospel to other people. Mm-hmm. But there's other sacrifices along the way that you make whenever you commit to a vocation, and it could be a teacher, it could be a CEO, it could be a scientist. Right. But to have the mentality of I'm doing this for others, and so I'm willing to put in the time to make the sacrifices to choose that over myself for the betterment of humanity.
Right.
Or whoever benefits from my work.
Right. Yeah, I just, in a recent sermon that I gave, I was telling two stories of people who just, in their own vocation, self sacrificed. One was a labor and delivery nurse when I was having my first child, my son, who her shift ended in the middle
Yeah.
of my labor and was like, no, I'm going to stay on. Went, got into her regular clothes and came back. Right. She could have gone home. She could have been like, this is my job, clock out, I'm done. And instead, she saw this very like anxious first time mom and was like, I've been with you for the last many hours. Like, I'm going to stick this out. I want to
Yeah.
see this kiddo. I want to see you become a mom. And so that was beautiful. Like, she sacrificed of her time and like her free time that she could have had because she's had a long shift. And then the other one was a financial manager who I went to when I was in a lot of student loan debt and wanted to like figure out a way to get out of it. And so I booked a time with him and spent the money to do this financial advisement. And he looked at me and he was just like, I want to keep going. Like, I want to see this through. And he ends up doing more meetings with me pro bono. And then, even that, he goes and helps other folks that were in the seminary with me that were also looking at the same student loan debt. And he realized, I have a gifting here and I'm going to sacrifice time and money to go do this out of my own care.
Mm-hmm.
And so, like, he could have absolutely kept asking for more money, right? Like, this is what I do, this is my job. And instead, he was like, no, 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 I'm going to give that gift. I'm going to sacrifice my own, what benefits I could be getting to give.
That's so powerful. I mean, when someone sacrifices themselves for you,
Yeah.
like it just penetrates all the defenses in your heart.
Yeah.
You're just so touched and moved, especially if they give the ultimate sacrifice, like their life for you. Like that's why we honor our military
Oh,
who
absolutely.
lay down their lives for their country. Like we understand intuitively or instinctually that is the ultimate act of love, and Scripture says that too. Like no one has greater love than this, than to lay down their life for others. And
Right.
Jesus lays down his life for us, and we've had people throughout the ages lay down their life for the idea of freedom, so that all the freedoms we experience are because someone made a sacrifice.
Right.
And that is the way of Jesus, is to live that way. To like, it's almost like we're Secret Service members, like we're looking for a bullet we can take
Yeah.
for somebody else. Like that's a Christian way of living in the world, is how can I'm willing to put my life in some way on the line for others. And then, not saying we're supposed to look for ways to die for people, but there is a dying to self, and would be willing to serve other people, even if it costs me my money, my time, my reputation.
Mm-hmm.
I think that's like sacrificing. Like for me, I'm an Enneagram 3, so self-sacrifice for me sometimes means taking the reputational hit for somebody else, because like that's like the worst thing for me. Is like I want people to think I'm great and good all the time and successful, and sometimes you have opportunities to take the hit in protection of somebody else, and that feels like the Christian thing to do, to be a buffer for somebody, or to stand in front, so maybe I look bad instead of they look bad, or something like that.
Yeah. Well, and like all of these imitations, there's the cost and the hard part too.
Mm-hmm.
And so like I have found that it's like I get resentful. Like, oh, you're not thanking me for my sacrifice.
Right.
Like you're not noticing what I'm doing for you. And so you do kind of feel like a doormat sometimes. Like I'm giving of my time. I'm giving like, right. As a pastor, you're kind of on call. And so like sometimes you go to these, off hours things, and you're like, why is no one thanking me?
Right.
Right? Don't they know that I could be doing something else?
It's my day off and I'm here at the hospital.
Right, exactly.
Yeah.
And so Henry Nouwen, one of my favorite authors, mentioned this, that he has a chapter in his spiritual formation book to move from resentment to gratitude.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that's the hardest part about the self-sacrifice piece, is that as Christians, when we are doing the self-sacrificing work, we can easily get resentful and say, you're not noticing enough, and so therefore I'm not going to sacrifice anymore. Instead to turn to gratitude. And he used the example of a pastor who would constantly be interrupted. Like he'd be like, I'm working in my office, and then people keep popping in, and suddenly I'm having all these interruptions in these meetings. And it just so happened to be happening to me that exact week. So I know that God was talking to me. But for this pastor to realize, like, my job is the meetings and is those moments of sacrificing like my to-do list to meet with this person.
Yeah.
And so to be great, like to be gracious to them and to be grateful for that moment instead. And so like not to seek the external validation of I sacrificed, why didn't anyone notice, but instead to be like, I'm so glad that I had that opportunity to do that thing, to, you know, to imitate Christ in this way and to be there for another.
Yeah, the interruptions is the ministry, right?
Yeah.
And to have that attitude. I mean, the other, it's easy to feel like a martyr as a Christian, right? Like, oh, look, I'm sacrificing all this time and nobody's noticing. And so it's trying to imitate Christ by making the sacrifices with a pure heart too.
Yeah.
Like to recognize you're doing it in service to God, and God sees what other people don't see.
Yeah.
To work for His applause rather than anybody else's applause. But that's, you know, I think I probably struggle with this one more than any of the others of self-sacrifice, because if I make a sacrifice, I want credit. Right?
Yeah.
And then
Yeah.
is it really a sacrifice,
Yeah.
or is it just something I'm paying for credit
Right.
and getting the
Right. It
getting
makes
the
me
thing
look
that I
good
want,
to self-sacrifice so
right?
often. Yeah.
I don't want to do it. I don't want to sacrifice in secret.
Right.
But
Right.
and you know that it does make me think of giving, like, you know, the offering, like when Jesus talks about giving alms to the poor, He says, "Don't let your left hand know what your right hand is doing." And so it's when you're making a sacrifice, whether it's, and I think giving of money is a sacrifice, you know, and it's really part of our church services. You know, we don't sacrifice animals on the altar, but we do give of our hard-earned dollars, which is a symbol of our life, and it's supposed to be done anonymously. You know, you don't say, "Give it $1,000." You know, everybody know this, everybody see this, right?
Or the plaques you'll see all over town,
right.
like, this was donated by so and so.
Right. And so, and Jesus says, you know, those people who, you know, parade their gifts, they receive their reward.
Yeah.
But your Father who sees in secret will reward you.
Right.
Right. And so the sacrifices that we made when we're doing this self-sacrifice, whether it's time, talent, treasure, reputation, our life even, that it's not meant for public consumption. It's meant for God alone. Because then it can protect the intentions, that it is an act of worship, an act of following Jesus, trying to be like Jesus in the world rather than trying to get something for yourself out of it.
Right. When you said public consumption, I immediately thought of social media, but then I was thinking, well, how do we imitate Jesus? Like, if social media had been in Jesus's time, how many of the disciples would have been like, oh, we didn't film that, we didn't catch that to put on the reels later,
Right.
and like Jesus, like, I really think that Jesus would never have cared. Like, I don't care how many people see this. Like, I don't care how many crowds come. I just want to heal this person. I want to be intentional with this person, right?
And
like,
so, Peter, you getting this? I'm about to heal this person.
Right, exactly, right. I don't
tape.
think that Jesus was for, like, his ministry was for public consumption. And so we have to kind of imagine that too, that, like, we have to not seek the fame of imitating Jesus, because Jesus never sought fame.
Right,
and in fact, he's a little he's a Galilean Nazarene, like, whatever you want to say, like, and this guy became Jesus, Son of God. Everyone knows this name now, even if they don't know, like, the story or the Bible or anything like that. Like, Jesus Christ has become a household name, but he's just this little guy that was, like, in the Middle East at this time in history.
It makes me think of the Mark in Secret, you know?
Yeah, like, don't tell anybody.
Like, every time he does it, don't tell anybody.
Don't tell anybody. Yeah, oh yeah, Gospel of Mark, full of, like, this messianic secret. Don't say that I'm the Messiah.
Because he doesn't...
Who do you say that I am? Okay, good, hold it.
Right. He doesn't want anybody to interpret his actions apart from his sacrifice on the cross.
Right.
Right, that it's all leading up to that. It's not for his own fame, it's not, you know, for power or for anything for himself.
Right.
Like, he gives of himself to lift up the world back to God. And so for us to start looking for ways to do that in big ways and small ways, you know, it's giving up your line to somebody in a grocery store who has, you know,
a crying baby. Please.
Right? Why don't you go first? Like,
right.
You know,
yeah.
Sacrificing small ways, or, you know, someone who's struggling to pay for something at the checkout line.
Right. Yeah.
You know, you're like, I got it. Don't worry about it.
Right.
You know, it's that kind of.
A pay it forward line in McDonald's.
Right.
Right. Like, So yeah, so it's little things. You don't have to sacrifice big.
Yeah.
Find your own ways to do it.
Follow Jesus.